They walk in that room, they become yours. And you got this energy inside your soul that says, I am the number one determinant of the success or failure of my students. Hey, y'all, when you get back, kick some butt. I'll see you in the winner's circle, celebrating your victory. Let's go. 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 Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's go. Let's go. Thank you, everybody.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 150 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. Let me see who we got here this morning. Let's see what we got. Let me scroll back. Y'all coming in kind of quick here. That's good, though. John Few is in the building. Takesha High, Grace Castaneda, Renee Graham, Jersey in the building. Marsha Poe, Demetrius Scott, Principal Michael Benton, Darnell McElveen, Hotep, good brother. I know you guys, I think you guys been having some snow up there. Tanita, stay dry. Tanita Smith, Vanessa Zeskin is in the building. Nicolette Lesniak, Rodney Richardson, Janie Smith, Principal Otis Kitchen II. You down there in that good weather. I was up in the snow in Rochester, New York yesterday, and then it's snowing here in Jersey this morning. Melissa Jones-Chunu was in the building. Stacy Ann Barrett, Principal Sean Hurt, my man, had a great session this morning. If you missed it, later on today, go on to his page, Sean Hurt, and check out, man, he getting you ready for them state standardized assessments. And that's the guru. That's the one that's got all the information to get you ready, not only on the podcast, but also to reach out to him and invite him to your school district, to your school, so that he can have that engaging conversation, that hands-on conversation about how to ensure that you have proficiency in your school and in your classroom. So that's Sean Hurt, turnaround principal. You go right to his Facebook page and check out the video and hit him up with the messages. They reach to invite him to your school. We got TB Summers in the building. Where we at? It kind of jumped on me. We got Stacy Ann Barrett, Principal Dot McKeever Jeter in the building. Lily Lanier in the building. Lewis Saunders, my man, is in the building. John Herricks, Lysandra Brackens, my wife, the queen, is here. The queen of the castle. Kimberly Broughton Kafele in the building. Cammie Berry is in the building. Sandra Gilliam is in the building. Yolanda McKinney, that's assistant principal Yolanda McKinney now, man. She been rocking, man, all since the beginning. And now here she is, assistant principal, getting ready to start that up in the beginning of next school year. James Wilburn, Leisha Jordet, I believe. I hope I didn't mispronounce that. Charlena Hottie, Takia Jones in the building. Man, I gotta stop for Takia Jones, man. I can't keep going, y'all. Takia Jones is my former student. She wrote me last week. She said, "You still my favorite principal." She was my student. I think she graduated in, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 2010 or 11, one of those years. And just a strong young Black woman in the education ranks, doing her thing. And I'm just honored when I see my former students on the thread. So good to see you. Good morning to you, Takia. Hotep. Latoya McNeil in the building. And tell the fam I said hello too, by the way. Latoya McNeil, Magdalene. Ooh, let me try. I think that R might be silent, so let's go with Zemeniki. Yeah, I feel good about that one. Zemeniki. Let me know if I got that right, Magdalene. We got my man Sean Woodley, Sean Dow Woodley in the building, man. He's out here solo now. You got to check him out. You know I'm gonna reach out to you at some point, Sean. We're gonna get you. I got a lot of people I got to get on here. But check out Sean on Sean Dow. I think I'm pronouncing. We call him Sean, but I think it's pronounced Sean Dow. Check him out on Facebook, on Instagram. doing this thing. Hey, Sean, I saw you on that big stage, man. I saw that video. I saw you on that big, gigantic stage. You doing your thing, man. I see you. We got Principal James Presley in the building. I think I said TB Summers. If I didn't, I see you. Yeah, I was in Newark, man. You couldn't come through. I was with the East Ward and Central Ward principals, man. This past week, we had a good time, man. I love them Newark principal groups and AP groups, man. I really do. We got my man, Dr. Marcus Jackson, in the building. He getting ready to come to the OSG, New York City, Columbia University next Saturday. He's gonna be in the building, man. He gonna bring that southern fire to New York City next week. If you local and you want some more information, reach out to Marcus. They said it's sold out, but you never know. But reach out to Marcus Jackson. He bringing that Texas, Louisiana fire to Harlem, New York City, Columbia University. We got my man Roger Harris in the building. We grew up together, man. What's going on, Pastor? We got my man Alfred Powell, man. Coach Powell in the building, Dayton, Ohio. Man, Coach, I got to get you on here, man. See, I know what's happening. We got the people. We got Tierica's fans on here. That's what's going on. Now I'm picking up on it, Coach Powell, because I ain't seen you lately. Good to see you, my brother. Joshua Emulus Brooks in the building. Vincent Stalling, the good doctor, is in the building. Maria Osess Watson, Krista McBride's in the building. We got MPA Jaguars. That's my man, Principal Josh Tovar. He's here. Donna Sherrigant, man, she part of the team, man. She be hooking us up with the shares, man. And I appreciate you, Donna, for all the work you've done to help to grow this platform. Don't think I don't see that, and don't think it's going unnoticed. You've played a significant role, Donna Sherrigant, in making this platform what it is today, because you have made people aware of it that I would have never been able to reach. So I appreciate you for that. Stay with me for the next 10 years. I'm going to be doing this for at least 10 more years. When I'm 72, I'll still be on here rocking, right? So let's see what we got. We got Muriel No Nonsense in the building. Good to see you down there in Augusta. Edu Buzz J.A. might be Ja in the building. What else we got? I'm getting ready to get started, actually. What else we got here? What else we got? Oscar Castro in the building. Rhonda Russell Henderson in the building. Tony McClenny, Dana Hassinger, I'm going to mess this up. Coho out in Waterbury, Connecticut. Man, I did a lot of work with them over the past couple of years. Crystal Nolan Brandon. And I think it's 11:05. So let me get ready to wrap up these shout outs. Let me see if there's anybody I just must. I see LaWanda Michelle. I got to shout LaWanda Michelle out there in South Carolina, taking care of business. Assistant principal. Got to shout her out. LaQuinn Stewart, my man out there in Kansas. I gotta shout him out. Kansas, but he gets around, man. Kansas for now, right? He gets around. Let me get started, y'all. It's that time. I got the big time guest on here. I got the expert. I got the guru. We talking SEL. But let me just first formally greet everybody by saying to you, good morning. Man, that ain't sound right, man. I need some water. Greetings. Welcome to week 150. Did you hear me? 150 of the virtual AP Leadership Academy. And I got a question for you. How you feeling? That's my question. How you feeling, y'all? Let me know in that chat with your emojis. How you feeling this morning? And in the Baptist tradition, we would say, how you feeling on this morning? Right? So how you feeling this morning? Let me let you know how I'm feeling to get us started, man. I just want you to know there might be somebody out there that's new to the platform, new to me. You know, I'm inviting new people every week when I'm somewhere traveling. So in case you didn't know how I feel, I'm on fire! Woo! Whew. I needed to get that out of me too, man. Word. I needed to get that out of me. All this flying, man. all this preparation, and make no mistake about it, I've added some more work to my routine with this academy. It takes me a week to get this right. Right? It ain't like I wake up on Saturday morning and pop on here and now here we go. Nah. From Monday to Saturday morning, I'm prepping. That's how serious I take this. So let's talk about a couple things before I bring up my guest. We are in week 150. That means I've been on here 150 weeks, and I might add consecutively. We haven't missed a week. 150. That's including on Christmas Day, one of them years, New Year's Day, one of them years, and all other holidays that fall on a Saturday. We here. When I was in Jamaica on vacation on my birthday, I'm here. I paid them for a room with dedicated Wi-Fi, so I wouldn't have to compete with the guest. Paid for a room so that I could be on here live. See, we ain't playing with this, man. This is about making that assistant principal that much better. But hear me, somebody, and hit that share button while I'm rapping to you. It's not just about the AP, because the AP will become a principal, most of them. So this is designed to get you there, but not only to get you to the position, but to make you proficient in the position. But guess what, somebody? It ain't just for the AP and the principal. It's folks out there who are neither, who are aspiring to get there. It's for them. But guess what? It's not just for them. If you a superintendent and you got principals and APs that work for you, it's for you. If you're an assistant superintendent and you got APs and principals that report to you, it's for you. If you're a director and you collaborate with the principal, it's for you. Supervisor, it's for you. Parent, it's for you. All other positions in education, it's for you. It's for everybody. Sometimes I've said this before, I'm going to say it again because I heard it yesterday. AP gets a promotion to a principal. Oh, I used to watch, but I'm a principal now. Huh? This ain't relevant no more? Really? Let's talk, right? It never loses its relevancy. So if you get the promotion, if they make you the commissioner of education, the secretary of education for the United States of America, this Saturday morning academy at 10:55 is still most relevant. Don't lose sight of that. Hit that share button, hit that retweet button. Welcome to the first timers. Oh, one more thing. I've brought on 75 guests, man. I was counting them up this morning. 75 guests. I'm not even going to start naming them. Wouldn't be fair because I can't name 75 right now, right? Don't have the time. I got the list right in front of me. But I brought in like some of the gurus. I mean, I brought on people on this platform. They're not here, so I can tell you this now. I brought on people on this platform that will not speak for less than $20,000 for a 45-minute keynote. They have sat right here. I got the big dogs come on here, man. $20,000 speakers that do a 45-minute keynote, and then they out. I had them on here for 2 hours for free, y'all. Y'all ain't pay a dime to see them. I ain't going to tell you which ones they are, but I'm going to tell you that they've been here, right? But you got it for free. This is for you. That's what this is about. And then I did 75 solos, right? So, I put all that information out there. They don't pay me 20 grand, but they pay me good. But I put that stuff out there for free. They don't pay. I can't even fix my mouth to ask somebody for 20 grand. I would feel awkward, like 20 grand for this, right? So I'm never going to be that guy because I don't want to be that guy. But they do pay me well, but I give this to you for free, man. All you got to do is tune in. Hey, y'all, welcome to the first timers. Glad to see you. Don't let this be your last. All of my previous 149 sessions you missed, just go back to the YouTube channel, scroll back to number 1, and just binge watch them all. It's going to take you a while because they're 90 minutes long, right? Some of them are 2 hours and some change. But watch them all. There's so much there. School Leadership Institute. Hey, man, this is the chance for us to come together in person. Charlotte, North Carolina, July 11 and 12. We going from 9 to 4 both days, live and in person. Go to principalkafele.com, scroll down to my announcements, and you'll see it sitting there. Hit that register button. and then it'll take you to the page, register, and I'll see you in Charlotte on July 11 and 12. Right? We talk shop over lunch. We talk shop over dinner. You know, it's 9 to 4 is just the formal time. Now, if you want to go on and just take it down, decompress, then fine. But some of us, we want to talk informally between time. We can do all that. Just join me in Charlotte. That's July 11 and 12. The new joint, Assistant Principal Identity, comes out May 19th, but you can pre-order it now. Go to principalkafele.com and it will connect you to Amazon or ASCD, my publisher. The Assistant Principal Identity, you want to get that in now because I promise you that book is going to sell out the day it's released because all my books do the same thing. We usually move about 6,000 copies on release day, right? So you want to make sure that you get that order in now. So order that book, The Assistant Principal Identity, Protecting Your Leadership Mindset, Fervor, and Authenticity is the subtitle. Make sure that you get your hands on the 2 books that coincide with the Academy, the Assistant Principal 50, the Aspiring Principal 50. You can get them, go to principalkafele.com, or you can go to Amazon or you can go to Barnes & Noble, but you can also go to ASCD, right? So that's that. And then make sure you like and follow the Virtual Leadership Academy Facebook page. That's where I drop the commentaries. I'll be getting back to that tomorrow morning. I took a break. We'll be doing number 99 tomorrow morning. So make sure that you like and follow that page, and then binge watch the previous commentaries I wrote. You know, they're relevant because they're part B to part A, which is the Saturday Academy. So it's a weekend thing. It's not just a Saturday thing. That's it. I'm done, y'all. Listen here. My topic today, your leadership and your emotional well-being, and the emotional well-being, I should say, of your students. I got a big time guest that I'm getting ready to bring up. And I just want to say to you, you know, I give a lot of thought before I bring her up to these topics. And I'm thinking, like, what does an AP need? What does a principal need? What does central office need? What does the aspiring AP need? So we come up with all these topics. Some of them I can address, others I can't. It's just not my area of expertise. So I bring on an expert who can address it. So for this particular topic, I said, who can I bring on to address SEL, social emotional learning? And there's only one name that came to my mind. So because of that one name, I brought that one name on the platform, who's a real person by the name of Tierica Berry. Hey, Tierica. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Principal Kafele. Thank you for having me on.
I'm glad to have you on, right? And it's a long time coming, but here you are. And you know, I've been promoting this thing, and I'm glad folks are here and ready to hear from you. You know, folks, before I get to my conversation, let me read Tierica's bio so that you know who you're listening to. Tierica Berry is an award-winning author, trainer, and social emotional learning specialist whose work has transformed the lives of thousands of teachers, leaders, and students. Her deeply transformative professional development seminars guide educators and leaders in emotional intelligence, reconnecting with the disconnected and engaging the disengaged. Her expertise in the area in the area of social emotional learning goes hand in hand with culturally relevant and responsive teaching, and is the key to releasing and unleashing the true potential of students. Her past clientele includes various types of youth organizations, from public school districts, girls programs, charter schools, youth detention centers. Tiarica has received national recognition for her creative writing program, anthology project, and her highly relevant program that helps with literacy, problem solving, and critical thinking. She has authored multiple books for teen girls, including Unpacking the Emotional Suitcase, an activity guide for emotional success, and Teach a Girl to Fish, Lessons of Responsibility and Accountability for Young Women. Her passion for empowering girls can be summed up in one statement: if you want to elevate a community, start with its women, because it is through women that all communities are born. That's a powerful statement. And my man, my brother right here, let me put him on the screen, Dr. Vincent Stallings. He said, I just ordered mine.
Nice.
Put it on the screen. This is the newest one, 7 Secrets of Social Emotional Learning. but she's got a slew of other books. You'll see them on Amazon. They're all listed there, but this is the newest one. And let me just boast for a minute. I endorse it. There's me right there. And then there's my brother, Chika Kua, who was her. Wait, let me get my hands out the way. Who was her teacher way back in the day. So myself, Dr. Chika Kua, we both endorsed this book with no hesitation nor reservation. Let's get to it, Tiarica. We're in Women's History Month. I brought you on deliberately in this month because of just all the work you do with the young women, with the girls, with women, etc. And then you have an awards gala coming up called Women's History in the Making, acronym WHIM, WHIM, the awards gala, coming up next Saturday, the 18th, which we're going to talk about today. But you do a ton of work with the young ladies. You do a ton of work with the girls. And I want to look at them in a historical context as it relates to the women that they will become. So with that, I want you to give us your thoughts about the role that women, and specifically Black women, have played over time in society and toward the advancement of society. What are your thoughts?
Okay, I'll definitely answer that question, but I want to pause really quickly because I want to make sure that I celebrate you and give you your flowers for your 150 episodes. So congratulations.
Look at that.
Congratulations on week 150, and the fact that you do it consecutively, week to week, week after week, no matter what, is just such an inspiration to me and so many other people I'm sure that are on this call. So
I appreciate your
consistency.
Appreciate you.
So yes, so to answer your question about the role that women play in historically, especially Black women, specifically Black women, a lot of that sometimes it comes across as like a silent figure, like we talk about, you've seen the movie Hidden Figures, right?
I did.
And so a lot of times it comes across as like a support role. However, that the Black woman has always been a strong figure and a strong staple in our community, the backbone, if you will. And like I said in my quote, if you want to change a community, you start with the women, because it's through women that all communities are born. I say that simply because whatever it is that we want to see in our families, we want to make sure those things are coming through our women, that we're developing those women, because whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it is education, just climbing the ranks in education, entrepreneurship, corporate leadership, is so many different opportunities for women to grow and to develop the community. So it's definitely we have to give our women our flowers, and that's why a women's standard is always so focused on uplifting and empowering women, but then also showing women, this new generation of women, different role models for how they can show up, because some of the role models have been interesting these days in some ways that we tend to put on a platform and pedestal. But I always like to show them different women that have done amazing things from historically, from like King Hatshepsut, which was a pharaoh, a woman king, actual woman king that led one of the most powerful dynasties. Showing, and a lot of them are not even familiar with Hatshepsut, or going into Mary Cloud Bethune or Oprah Winfrey or Michelle Obama, or just really just kind of going through all of these different examples of strong, powerful leadership.
Powerful response. You mentioned Hidden Figures. My mother is on here right now. She's always on. And Katherine Johnson, her grandson, Michael Moore, is typically on this call. I don't know if he's on today or not, but he's typically on here on the thread watching. My mother and Katherine Johnson's daughters are extremely close. They've been close for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And then I became close with the grandchildren, Michael, Laurie, and Troy. But I didn't realize Katherine, I knew she was, but I didn't realize her significance to the world until she was much older.
Mm.
Right. And it's like I almost kick myself every day saying, why did I sleep on her?
Right.
Why did I miss out on her? when I knew the family, the grandchildren and the children. But you know, that's just one of them things. So I honor her name every time I hear it, or the name of the movie, as the supplement to me not getting to know her when she was here. Right.
Right.
So glad you brought that movie up. You know, let's talk about you a little bit. You know, you are, and I don't even know if you want to say this about yourself, but many feel this way about you. You are an SEL, a social emotional learning expert. One may even say a guru. This is your area, you know, not just in terms of what you've written, but in terms of the work you do, the air you breathe, right? So as an SEL expert, who is Tierica Berry?
So, as an SEL expert, and like you said, just kind of having that as the preface is interesting in itself, and something I'm still trying on myself, because when I started SEL, it wasn't SEL to me. It was just me giving these young people everything I needed when I was their age. And that was my mission. When I first started, when I set out, I said, I want to be that mentor. I want to be that role model. I want to provide that space, that safe space, those tools, those resources that I may not have gotten until later on in life. I want to give it to them earlier. And so as I was doing this work, I kept hearing this buzzword about SEL. And I said, well, let me look into this. And I looked it up. I said, oh, I've been doing that. And so that's when I said, well, if this is what I'm excited that people are looking for it. So I began to step out and do this work as an SEL expert to basically share this information so that it can be more accessible.
Mm-hmm.
And then also I wanted young people to have it across the country. But then as I was doing the work for the young people, I realized they were going back into the classroom, and the educators needed some resources as well. So the educators are like, what about me? I need some SEL tools too. So we had to start prioritizing the self-care and the social and emotional development of the teachers. So I started doing work for that. That's where the 7 Secrets to Social Emotional Learning came in. Then as I was doing that, I realized that we were giving these educators the tools, but they were going back into the building, and that didn't necessarily support that healthy SEL, that social and emotional development. And so it's like swimming upstream for educators. And so that's when we started working with administrators and principals to shift the culture and climate of their schools so that it support healthy social and emotional development. And when you change the culture and climate, then that boosts the morale of the educators, which ultimately shifts the culture and climate in their classroom, which boosts the morale of their students, which directly correlates with improving student outcomes, which always just brings me right back to the original reason why I got into this and who I am as a social and emotional learning specialist.
I love it. I love it. I was anytime I have an author on, I go deep into their books. And I read this when you sent it to me, but I read it with a different set of lenses this time in terms of preparing. So there's a piece in the introduction that I asked myself, do I read this or don't I? I said, well, she did put it in the book, so I guess it's good. I said, so I want to share this with the audience. You said in the introduction, growing up as a girl of color in the suburbs of Atlanta on the more affluent side than some of my counterparts, I would say I was pretty fortunate. However, this lifestyle was not free of challenges and emotional trauma. I was a victim of bullying, sexual molestation, and sexual assault. I also struggled with self-confidence, promiscuity, and less than average academic success. These experiences led to a downward spiral emotionally. I never took an attempt on my life, but I remember suicidal ideations, such as, what if I weren't here? If I were to commit suicide, how would I do it? How would my family feel? Would it hurt? There was a point when I would look in the mirror and just cry. When I read that, Tiarica, this second time, I paused for a long time because I feel like I know you better than when I received the book. So it was, I was able to humanize it a lot more. And I literally just sat over here and just kind of paused and just thought it through, not in terms of the questioning, just thought about you. And there's so many young people, young ladies in particular, who go through, experience so much, and no one ever knows about it. They're not going to share it with anybody. Maybe, and in many cases, not even with their closest friends. It's just bottled up inside. So this was a challenging time in your life. But my question to you is a two-parter. How'd you overcome it?
I had to realize that first and foremost, it was a problem, that this is not normal. It's not okay. Because a lot of times that's what we do. We, try to fit this strong Black woman narrative, and, it's okay. I don't want so-and-so to be in trouble. I don't want to cause any problems for anybody. I don't want to be seen as the angry Black woman, or whatever it may be. Whatever we tell ourselves, the way we justify it in our heads, we make it okay some kind of way so that we can just get through the day with a smile on our face. And that part when I said I would just sit and cry at times, like, that was real, and at some point I realized that wasn't healthy, and it also wasn't the way I wanted to live my life. So I started just breaking it down. So it was like this whole huge thing that I just had to resolve and fix. And they say, what's the best way to eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so I started to break it down into what I call baby steps. And so I started with self-examination, and I had to recognize what I was doing, to continue this cycle. And then I had to break it down to say, okay, now how do I clean this up? What is happening from the outside? How do I set boundaries? And that whole process became the book, Unpacking the Emotional Suitcase, because I wanted to share. I actually put it into a presentation to share with other people how I was able to work through and resolve and achieve what we call emotional success. And people wanted to know. And then when I did the presentation, everyone came and said, well, where's the book? I said, okay, well, I guess I got to write a book about it.
Yeah.
But that was that process, is unpacking the emotional suitcase, because ultimately that's what it is. We're carrying around this heavy, heavy emotional suitcase, and it's a burden to us. And a lot of times we're not achieving our goals. We're not making it where we need to go. Our students are not making it where they need to go because they're lugging this emotional suitcase around. My dad always says he doesn't have an emotional suitcase. He has an emotional wallet. But hey, whatever we have to make sure that we are unpacking that, right? So that's kind of the process that I took to resolve that.
Now thinking about the people that view this platform on Saturday mornings, which are school leaders and APs, aspiring folks, etc. My question to you regarding what I just shared with you, the passage I just read to our audience, were there teachers, leaders, counselors, whomever in a building that became aware of what you were grappling with? And if so, how did they intervene? If not, why is it that they didn't know?
No. I didn't share with anyone in my school. And I was one of the sexual assault situations that I had was with someone in the school. And so I didn't feel like I had a space where I could really share that. And then I also didn't want anyone to get in trouble, because again, we make it okay. We make it okay. And so I kept it to myself, and just made it through the day. I just, shoved it in my emotional suitcase.
There's these questions, as I was reading, toward making your transition to who and what you have become. There were these 4 questions that spoke to your self-awareness, your relationships, your behavior, and then your goals / outcomes. And I want to read those questions to the audience. Why am I like this? Which speaks to your self-awareness, or one's self-awareness. Why am I lacking quality relationships, which speaks to relationships? What can I do to change, which speaks to behavior? And to whom or what should I change, which speaks to goals and outcomes? I find that each of these questions are relevant to the social emotional development of school age children. I want to look at each one individually. I want to stay here for a little while, and I want to look at them relative to the youngsters that are in the schools that are being represented on this platform this morning. But I also want to look at it from a leadership vantage point. So let's look at this question. Why am I like this? What is the significance of that question to that youngster who is dealing with emotional trauma? Let's go. We'll go part A and B. So let me just give you that part A. What's the significance of that question?
It's important to start there, just hands down, because we can't navigate anything until we recognize, we can't heal anything until we recognize who we are and why we are showing up the way we're showing up. And that's always, no matter what I do with the young people, any program that I start, and I'm working with the young people, even as working with educators, we have to realize how we show up, how we're showing up, and how our experiences are impacting how we're showing up to any situation, right? And so taking the time to dive into, okay, why do I respond like this? Why am I behaving in this way? Why do I view, how do I view the world? What's important to me? And then also what is being influenced from external circumstances and what I truly, truly want and love, because peer pressure is real, and a lot of times some of these young people don't even know who they are. We did a program in Mississippi with a group of young people, and we started the session with, who are you? I'm going to give you, I think we gave them like 5 minutes to just write, who are you? And they sat there and did not know. They didn't, they raised their hand. Well, what do you mean? Who am I? Who are you? Who are you? If you can't write it in a sentence, then just write as many words as come to your mind to describe who you are. Some of these young people couldn't come up with 3 words to describe themselves. And so if we don't know who we are, if the student doesn't know who they are, then how can we get them anywhere? How do we move them? How do we develop them? How do we grow them if we don't have that starting basis of, who am I? Why am I like this? Who am I? What's my identity?
Yeah. And something, Tiarica, as you say that, it makes me think of the way I use that question from a historical perspective. Who am I historically? Who am I culturally? So I know you wear the ankh sometimes, and you talked about hatshepsut. Yeah, you wear it oftentimes. and here's youngster in the context of what you just said individually. Mm-hmm. Like I don't recognize, I don't know beyond a few words who that is in my mirror.
Right.
But then we put it in a historical context, and I don't know who I am in my mirror, but I don't even know who I am in the context of a people.
Yes.
Right? My people. But I may not be able to word it as my people because I don't know who I am. So I don't know who I am as a part of that particular family. So now we're talking about a lost individual on just multiple different levels. And then the trauma coupled with, we can talk about intersectionality and now you talk about the trauma coupled with the isms of the world. Man, there's so many layers to overcome in that scenario. So with that same question, who am I? Why am I like this? My self-awareness. Then what is the significance of that question as it relates to children relative to the leaders who are watching? They go on through the school and let's say there's an AP, for example, Tierica, and they have been relegated to school disciplinarian, which is why I created this platform, because that's wrong, right? But they've been relegated to that role. And now all I do is discipline kids. But I got a youngster in the school who is dealing with all sorts of emotional trauma, inclusive of our question, why am I like this? What would you say to the leadership watching right now?
I think it's very important that it's a building block. It's like a puzzle. And if we are missing any piece of that, or let's say we're building a house, it's the foundation. That identity is the foundation that we build that house. And we know if we build in a house, if that foundation is faulty or not present at all, then that house will crumble. It will fall. It will not stand, right? And so figuring out that foundation of the identity is how we build our children up. And Dr. Kua talks about cultural identity theft, right? And when I first heard him just really break that down, it was like it made so much sense to me, because a lot of our students believe that our history started in slavery. And so if they believe that our history started in slavery, and they believe that from slavery to now is who we are as a people, then that's where you get a lot of the behaviors and things, the behavior challenges that we're seeing. And so just really, really focusing in on developing that identity, on clarifying who they are, is really important. And it'll save us a lot of headache when it comes to that development process.
You know, it was interesting. You know, you referenced Dr. Akua Tiarica yesterday when I was in this school district called Gates Chili. It's spelled like chili. I thought it was Gates Chili until they told me yesterday, you know, you got that wrong. It's Gates Chili. And I did this breakout session after the keynote, and this woman, she's a white woman, and I was just dropping nuggets of history, and she said, "Why is this not taught?" And she was very concerned. You know, it was in her face, it was in the way she said it, and I so welcomed the question, you know. But she said, "Why haven't I learned this? Why is this not in curriculum? Why is this not taught?" And I said to her, "I'm gonna give you a very raw response. I'm not going to give you the intellectual response. I'm going to give you the raw response." And my response is, if this was taught, then America would have to figure out what to do with the masses of Black children as they transition to adults. What do we do with them? Because now they're going to want the power that we got. See, because now they know who they are historically. So if I can keep them to a level where they don't recognize who that is in their mirror, then I don't have to worry about them. I can lock them up. Right. But if I let them know of their lineage, oh my God, they are going to want beyond comprehension. Right. So you know, and it was toward the end of the session. I already went overtime, so I couldn't get as deep as I wanted to with it, but I was just intrigued by the question itself. And I was glad to give her that response. Right. I was glad she asked it, like, why? Because it's and I know we ain't talking history now, but you said what you said, and
it is by design. It is by design.
Yeah, like it. That is the question.
Yes.
Why is this not in curriculum?
Right.
Because when it begins to show up in curriculum, as I say to everybody, game over.
Yes.
It's a wrap.
Yes. Yes.
That's the empowerment right there. Right there. And I see you, Coach Powell. You know what I'm talking about, because that's what you write about. Right. You know, I learned some of my stuff from you. If we're gonna keep it 100, right?
That's one of my mentors too. So, yes.
Coach Powell in the building, right? So let's go, Tierica. So that second question, why am I lacking quality relationships, which speaks to relationships? What is the significance? Let's go A-B. What is the significance first to the children relative to that question?
So relative to the children, there's this, especially with the girls, there's this independent woman thing. There's this, I don't need anybody, you know, I did it by myself, and all these different sayings and ideas that ultimately don't support healthy relationship and community. And ultimately that's what we want. That's what we need, because you can't do it by yourself. Nobody can do it by themselves, right? And the true success is really, how do you navigate these relationships? So if I'm saying, why don't I have any quality relationships around me? I have taken assessment of how I'm showing up to these relationships. How am I nourishing these relationships, right? So one of two things are happening. Either I'm trying to be in with the wrong crowd, or I'm showing up to the right crowd, but I'm bringing a version of myself that maybe I can develop, my communication skills. Maybe I can develop what loyalty looks like, or whatever it is to nourish the different pieces that come into nourishing a healthy relationship. I think is important for these young people to recognize, because ultimately that's I think it was Dr. King was on last week talking about just making good people, like I want good people to come back in style, not the bad guy, not the bad girl, whatever. Like, how do we just be good people? Right. And ultimately that's what it's about, how we're showing up in these relationships. So I think that relationship piece, why am I lacking quality relationships, gives the students the opportunity to reflect on themselves and learn how they can develop in that area.
So given what you just said, now let's go to the part B, the school leader, whether it be an AP, whether it be a principal, whether it be somebody, just an adult in the building. I see this student who's lacking quality relationships in my school, in my classroom. I see it. It's as clear as day. Student is shifted because student has gravitated to a different group of people now, right? So now, where do I come in with trying to correct that in terms of just quality relationships for that youngster? But the ones who are the bad crowd, right? They have bad, lack of quality relationship between each other, right? So as leader, what's my role to make that better for all?
That's such a loaded question. My mind is going like 50 different directions right now. But I would say, let me just say this so I don't forget to say it, is modeling is a big part. And so a lot of times I'm seeing it when I go into these buildings that some of the educators may need to work on their relational skills too. Because when because the children are always watching. Right? They're always watching, they're always listening. So we want to make sure that as educators, we're showing what it looks like to have healthy relationships, to work through conflict and resolve conflict, right? And then taking it back to what do I do? How do I intervene with the young people? Restorative practices is just something that has to be ingrained in these conversations, in these spaces, right? And so really giving an opportunity for a big part of restorative practices is repairing harm. And so sometimes when these young people have clashes or breakdowns in communication, they don't have an opportunity to really sit down and address what happened. If there's a suspension, they go home, they come back, and that now they're just in their silos. Whereas I always encourage just to really sit down and explore what's happening going through these situations. So I'll give you an example. There was a residential program in Iowa that I was working with. And I heard about some things that were happening, like it was a fight kind of brewing. You know how you hear the chatter. And so somebody came to me and told me something. And I saw, as we were about to switch classes, that the two girls that were supposed to be getting in a fight were about to cross paths. So, we kind of made some separation between them. And then I pulled each of them individually. And I asked what was going on. I listened first. I didn't go accusing, hey, I heard you were going to get in a fight. I listened to what was happening. And then went to the other one, listened to what was happening. Then I said, hey, I asked them each, would you like to have a conversation? Because what it sounds like to me is there's some miscommunication. Maybe there's some gossip and drama going on. So are you open? They were both open. We took them in the hallway. It was simple, just a quick hallway conversation. We took them in the hallway, explained that there was a third party that was kind of pouring gasoline on the fire and fueling this situation. And they were able to really hash it out and see, oh, you know what? We actually have more in common than we thought. They hugged it out and they became close friends, right? Wow. But working through these type of situations, giving them an opportunity to see how things happen, the back scenes, the behind the scenes of how petty drama gets built up, and how do we work through these things in a healthy way without having a fight.
Yep. And that's key, in a healthy way. Right, being restorative. Let's go to that third question. These are 4 questions that help you to make a transition. What can I do to change? And I think that's a big one. What can I do? Because I don't, there are many of us that really don't know. We can't answer that question. What can I do to change? How would you speak to that as it relates to the youngster first?
So I think that's a matter of practice. A big part when it comes to changing, I always try to help the young people recognize the difference between young people and educators recognize the difference between your actions and your being, because a lot of times we will associate the two together, right? But when you associate what you're doing, like I'm a failure, or when people talk about, I'm a drug addict, or I am a prostitute, or whatever it is, they are associating that as part of their identity instead of something that they do. So that's one thing that I try to help first. Let's separate who you are and what you do. Then once we separate who we are and what we do, because we've already worked on identity, right? Because remember, that's the foundation. So we know who we are. Then when we talk about what we do, now we can change. It's easier to change what we do. We can change our actions, because ultimately, is this in alignment with what you want for your life? And so separating those things, gaining the skills and the tools that you need to develop yourself and practice your social and emotional development. What are your coping skills? This is basically where we give them all the tools they need. We have a card game called Think It Over, where they actually are able to play this game with general scenarios that are relevant to them, to practice utilizing social and emotional learning skills, right? So then they're able to take those skills and apply it to whatever goals and outcomes that they have for themselves.
I love that. And I want to go back to your earlier words on that question, because it resonated with me on this level. Baruti Kafele, which is not on that screen right now, says principle. Baruti Kafele is who I am. Principal Kafele, what I do. Right. And I want leaders out there, I want you to hear this. I draw a distinction, because if I stay Principal Kafele 24 hours a day, I will drive myself crazy. The work will be on my mind 24/7, and it is on my mind a lot. But I try to separate. And it made it easy by making this distinction and using my professional name as Principal versus Baruti. Because if it was Baruti, and I'm not trying to encourage someone to do a name change or anything, but it just helped me to distinguish life with my family versus life with the work that I'm passionate about. Right. I want to, at some point, I want to go out and enjoy a dinner with my wife on a Saturday night and not be thinking about the next engagement or the next blog post or the next book, or whatever. I want to be able to just focus on her. And the only thing that matters in front of me is my wife sitting in front of me, if that makes sense to somebody out there. So I'm saying that to say to someone out there, make sure that your life is not consumed with this work, that you do have balance in your life, and that you can morph into who you are within your essence, as opposed to who you are professionally 24/7. It matters. And that's why you'll always see on that screen Principal Kafele, because I'm in work mode right now. I ain't the guy that my wife knows and my sons and daughter know right now, right? They don't see me like this unless they see me working. Right. So I just want to make that distinction. It resonated with me, everything you just said. Let's go to the administrator on that same question. So what can I do to change? Administrator, that person, Tiarica, is in the building with the children all day long. They're in the building with children, in some cases, for more hours than the parent is with the child during the hours that they're awake. What is the relevance of that question? What can I do to change relative to the student? What is the relevance of that question to the school leader?
To create spaces for these young people to have, to practice, to identify, what they want, how to process, cope with, deal with, navigate challenging situations. A lot of our children, a lot of us, period. Like, if you think about, when did you learn how to deal with embarrassment? When did you learn how to deal with fear or, anger? Is there a space in your building for that? because ultimately that's what is going to distract from the academics and the learning. If I'm learning, but I just got embarrassed, in the cafeteria, or I was, someone was hurt my feelings. I'm dealing with a heartbreak. I need a space to really work through that beyond, oh girl, that's, you'll be fine. You're going to have more heartbreaks in your life. How do I really comb through what I'm feeling, process it in a healthy way, and then get my bearings and then move forward with what I need to do. Yeah. And so I think creating spaces for young people to learn how to navigate these situations.
That's key. Creating these spaces. I'm telling audiences all the time that we can focus on the academic learning all we want, but I'm being very specific with Black and brown children when I'm having that conversation. We can talk about all the academic learning all we want, but is there something inherent in the work we do that helps them to navigate life as it is? Because if all we're doing is academic, okay, now you're proficient in math, you're proficient in language arts, you're proficient in science and social studies, but are you proficient in life? See, do you have a clue about how to navigate life? And that's the spaces that I hear you talking about. Go ahead, because I see you.
Yeah, I mean, just as you're talking, just a story came to mind with a friend of mine who we've been friends since we were 16 years old.
Is it Sean Miller?
It is Sean Miller.
It's coming. It's coming. Give me a few minutes.
No, I was ready. I
got the name right here, man.
Okay,
y'all don't worry about it. Let's go to that last one. Okay. So to whom / what should I change? So to whom should I change / what should I change? And we're talking about goals and outcomes here.
Okay. And goals and outcomes are this. So when we're talking about building that foundation, like this is a huge part of it as well. So knowing who you are and knowing where you're trying to go as an educator, and I'm going to do, if you don't mind, I'm going to do this one backwards. So as an educator, that in itself could help alleviate so much headache. As a school leader, so much headache. When I know who my child is and what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish, I can connect that together, right? And utilize that as a place of motivation, because it's not what I want you to do. So there have been times, and I ask people, I even ask my friends this, what's your purpose in life? What do you want? What do you want? What is your purpose? Why are you here? What's your goal? So that I can utilize that. So when I see my girls fighting, I thought you said you wanted to be a nurse or a politician or whatever it is that you want to be. How are you going to do that when you're here fighting? So this isn't, oh, if you're fighting, you better stop, you're going to get suspended. At that moment when they're heated, they're not thinking about that. Even when they're not heated, they may not care much about being suspended, or they may not care much about graduation. But if you attach it to their goals, maybe they have businesses that they've already started right now. Well, how are you going to continue your business if you are arrested because you were fighting today, right? And so kind of helping them, okay, now let's figure out what's a way that we can resolve these conflicts that we have coming up, and that will help us move closer towards our goals. I try to stay away from using right, wrong, good, and bad, because they're just really polarizing statements, and it gives an opportunity for me to be oppositional. Well, how this is bad or this is good, whether it's dress code, so if a young lady is coming in and she's wearing something that's a little provocative, instead of saying, well, that you shouldn't be wearing that's bad, right? Let's talk about, well, what are your goals? What's important to you? And how is this moving you towards that goal, right? Is it moving you closer to or further away? And so as an educator, as an administrator, I think knowing that the goals for students is critically important, maybe even posting it somewhere so that they can see it and be held accountable to it. And then making sure that the teachers use that in their classrooms too throughout the year, because that's how we have them buy into what we're teaching them.
Yeah, good stuff. Two things before I move on. Someone has asked, a few people have asked for the name of the book. So let me put the book up. This is one of the books. This is the one I'm kind of using, 7 Secrets of Social Emotional Learning. You can get this right now. Just go to your other device and go to Amazon.com and put in Tierica Berry, and you can order the book right now. And then her other books are listed on the page there as well. And then someone asked, they said they missed the first part of us, and that's Tiandra Arrows. They're all on YouTube, right? So when the broadcast is over, Tiandra, just go to YouTube, and all 150 sessions are there in their entirety, or whatever you're watching on Facebook. So when we're done, you just start the video over and watch it right there from the platform that you're on right now. But they're all there, all 150 of them. Let's go. And I appreciate that. Let's go. So Tiarica, the challenges, the emotional trauma that you faced is pretty much the story of a lot of young people across the country that, in various different degrees, but a lot of young people, countless young people who are experiencing trauma on just a multiplicity of different levels. My question then is, thinking about the leadership, and I know we've touched on this, but I just want to put it out there as a formal question. What are some of the structures that as leaders that we can put in place in schools as it relates to social emotional learning to increase the probability that the emotional traumas of young people are in fact detected and ultimately addressed in our schools?
Structures will be groups, small groups, because it's difficult if it's a large setting, I may not be as comfortable sharing more personal information in that large setting. It's easy for me to fade to the back and slip through the cracks in large groups. And also, if I am a girl in the class with everyone else and the boys are here and they're listening, I may not want to share some of the more personal, deeply personal things that I experienced as a girl. So being sure to address, different spaces, and also not just keeping everybody separate, but then also bringing together, because we also need to address how are we working together? How do we interact? How do we collaborate? One of my business partners, we have a program called Crown Collaborative, where we're showing how young men, young women collaborate together to work together, basically. Because right now there's this huge thing where they're pitting themselves against each other, or they're being pitted against each other. So having spaces for that. Also, there are, I think, encouraging counseling and being an advocate for therapy and counseling is important. One of the most recent professional development sessions that I did, I asked the audience how many have ever been to counseling or currently, in counseling, and a lot of people were not in favor of it. And so I think we still have a lot of work to do to challenge the stigma around counseling and therapy. And just hitting that head on, making sure that we address those things, celebrating things like yesterday was SEL Day. Like, how are we celebrating those type of days in our buildings? Partnering with community organizations, that is huge. Partnering with the community in general, but not just allowing it to be just in the classroom. There are some schools that are doing very well with that, where they go out into the community, and because they're organizations like mine, like I literally fight at times to get in schools, almost giving my services away, because I want to work with these girls, right? And it's a lot of times an uphill battle for whatever the reason is. Every building is different, but I think that partnering with community organizations, advocating for counseling and therapy, and creating spaces for these young people to navigate their social and emotional development.
Good stuff, great stuff, and we could spend all day on that question, just talking about various different things we could bring to a school. Good stuff. Tiarica, there's a buzzword out here. There's a lot of education buzzwords, but here's one of them in the SEL space: trauma-informed schools. So we hear that all the time. There's another buzzword. I'm gonna use it in a different context in a later question, but equity. So equity means a zillion different things to a zillion different people. There's no one standard universal definition. So with trauma-informed schools, it's the same thing. That may mean something to school A, but school B is looking at that very differently. School C is looking at it even more so differently than A and B, and so forth. So my question to you, just from your vantage point through your lens, what might a trauma-informed school look like?
A trauma-informed school would ideally, from my lens, it would be, of course, have spaces where where young people could open up to discuss challenges that they're dealing with in a small group setting, also in a one-on-one. So individuals would know there's a school that that I work with that each student had to identify 3 educators, 3 staff members in the building. It could be anybody, it could be a custodian, it could be a band teacher, it could be whoever. And they categorize them as who they would like to be their one-to-one person. When they identify that person, then they were paired with someone that this is my person that I feel I can talk to. And so if I'm dealing with something today, if I'm feeling, stressed, or I had an experience that I really want to share with my one-to-one, and they call them your primary. So if I want to share this with my primary, then you have that connection. But so small groups, the primary, or the one-to-one connection. And I would also encourage young people to give them tools to work through different challenges. And I would put it out there kind of in a hypothetical sense a lot of times, because sometimes I may not want to share what I'm really dealing with personally. But if I hear it utilized in an activity that we're doing, and now we get to talk about, what that is. We have a activity we call baggage claim in my organization. Whenever we start the day, we start off with baggage claim, and the young people will write whatever they're bringing with them, whatever they're carrying. They write it down on a little slip of paper. I go through them. We read, I'll read them, and I'll group them. And then as a group, we go through them together anonymously. So nobody knows who says what, unless of course they put something specific on there, which I try to curb. But they're able to really get the things that they want resolved. And so just getting really creative with just outlets on how these young people can show up and express themselves and practice with the tools that they need to address whatever trauma. And then having a clear path on what happens whether it's from mandated reporting laws, which is critically important. I always say, when it comes to mandated reporting laws, I always say, do it by the heart, not by the book. And so if I come in and I say, you know what, if you tell me X, Y, and Z that's on this list, I got to tell, because I don't want to lose my job. That's kind of cold, right? As opposed to, if you share anything with me, and this is typically how I approach it. If you share, I want you to be able to tell me anything you want. If you share something with me that has you in harm or danger, your safety is my utmost importance. It's top priority for me. So, I don't play about my babies, right? And they usually laugh a little bit. So if something happened, we're gonna figure this thing out. Okay, we're gonna get the help you need. So they already know that Miss T is gonna be about that action when you share something with me. So a lot of times they do want to share anyway. Once I do share it by the heart and not by the book. Yeah. So those are just a few things that I think would be present in my trauma-informed school.
I love it. Tiarica, here's a reality. SEL, social emotional learning. That language is not accepted in all schools, in all districts. It's like equity. Like people hear me say this all the time on this platform. When we're having our planning meeting, our Zoom planning meeting about what I'm going to cover, it is not uncommon in today's time, post George Floyd's murder, for a client to request of me to not use the word equity at all in my presentation. Like, please do not say that word, because it can just create a lot of problems for us. There'll be a lot of repercussions for us within the district and outside of the district. But what I've noticed, and you may have noticed the same, SEL is in the same company. There's a lot of places that the feeling is that social emotional learning has no business in a school. That's for the parent to deal with. not the educator, right? It doesn't have a role. I don't agree with that at all, but I hear it all the time. I don't have to contend with a lot because anything I talk about with SEL is going to be embedded in my other topics. I don't have a standalone social emotional learning topic, so therefore I don't have to worry about that. Once I'm in there and I'm in my topic, if it comes up, then hey, it's there, right? Y'all deal with that. So here's my question to you. What is your thinking about that rationale that SEL doesn't have a place in schools? It's for parents to contend with at home.
I think it is, with all due respect, the most backwards approach to education that we can take. The root word, I mean, the definition of education, it goes back to, and without me going all off in the weeds, but it's from the root word educare, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it means to draw out from within, right? And so if in education we're trying to spend so much time putting something into these young people, we're not spending any time drawing out from within them to help develop them into who they want to be, who they need to be, right? And so that's where the social emotional learning aspect comes from, because otherwise what's going to happen is, if we spend so much time focusing on just the academics, just sheer academics, then either I'm going to just get really good at memorizing things, right? Because I don't see any connection or any correlation to this in my life. And so then I'm just going to do what I need to do to pass this grade and get out of your class. And I'm not going to lie, that was pretty much my MO as a student. It really was, because I didn't see the connection. I didn't see the connection with entrepreneurs for parents. Yeah, not so much. I was really there to socialize. I was there to talk, and that's what it was. And so when it comes to that SEL piece, when educators say that, oh, well, our test scores are decreasing, or, we don't have time for your social emotional learning program because we have to bring in someone to help us with testing or academics, I'll say, you don't have time not to bring in my social emotional learning program, because ultimately people look at SEL as a time waster when actually it's a time maker. All the fires that you have to spend time putting out all day, you eliminate those by implementing effective SEL practices, by developing your staff to de-escalate conflict, right? If your staff knows how to de-escalate conflict, if your students know how to peer-to-peer de-escalate conflict, and relationships, we talked about relationships, if they know how to navigate healthy relationships, give themselves space to cope, they know what to do when they feel embarrassed. All of these things are things that happen for explosions in your classroom.
That's right.
Right.
And look at what Tiandra, I left that up for you. She said, I was just thinking, how do I mention that to my leadership? My leadership said that to me. No, don't mention SEL.
Wow.
So, yeah. So see that. So we're not talking about someone who said to the presenter. We're talking about someone who said to the educator in their building.
Wow.
Don't bring that in here.
Wow.
See, that's real. That's real. I see Dr. Koo is here too. Yeah. So it's I won't preach a sermon, but I'll just say that if there's anybody out here watching who watches, but you're in one of them spaces, SEL it should be an inherent component of what you do.
Not should. It has to be.
It has to be.
It has to be. It's that critical.
Yeah, it's that critical. Hey, let's go to some of the 7 secrets. And again, for those who may have tuned in late, 7 secrets to social emotional learning, written by our guest Tierica Berry, endorsed by yours truly, Principal Kafele, and the man whose picture is on the bottom of the screen, Dr. Chika Akua.
Thank you, Dr. Akua.
So your latest book, but 7 secrets of social emotional learning. You talk about these 7 secrets that I want to read to our audience this morning. Real quick, you said EQ makes the difference. Stop spreading emotional dysfunction. Social awareness. Processing emotional trauma. Be trauma responsive when it really counts. Really in capital letters. Really when it really counts. Refocus opportunities. Beliefs. the glue that holds it all together, and finally, bonus emotional preparation. It would take all day to unpack all of this, so I picked 3 that resonated with me most. So let's explore first. EQ makes the difference. I got a 3-parter for you. Number 1, what is EQ for someone that may not know those initials? What is EQ, and what is the difference between EQ and IQ, and why does EQ matter?
Okay. So EQ just is short for emotional quotient, where you have your IQ is your intelligence quotient, and then your EQ, of course, is your emotional quotient, which basically is your emotional intelligence, all of the things that we consider like soft skills and, all the things that we've been talking about, identity, social awareness, all of those pieces go together when it comes to EQ. And you ask, why is it important? Like, why does it make the difference? So EQ makes the difference because literally just what I was saying about, if I can't connect what I'm learning to the real world, to my life, to anything that's relevant to me, then I'm just going to do what I need to do to pass your class and get out of your class. But when you can make that connection, if you think about any student that you've had that have made significant strides or declines in education, right? Whether they've, improved two reading grades or proficiency in math or whatever it may be. Typically it wasn't because, this teacher came in and they just taught their butt off, right? It was typically something emotional or social in nature. I like this teacher. This teacher saw me. I connected to this teacher, right? And that's where that EQ comes in. Is we built a relationship. I have a relationship with you now. So that social interaction made the difference for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or the emotional aspect. Sometimes you'll see that student who might be an all-star student might experience the death of a loved one, for example. And because of that emotional experience that they had, they may decline in their academics. And so that's why I say that it is the EQ that makes a difference.
EQ. So let's take EQ and make it concrete. Now, I want you to talk to us about the experience with the young man, Sean Miller. I want to make this whole EQ discussion concrete through that discussion. Go ahead.
So, like I said, Sean is a friend of mine. We've known each other since we were 16, and and he was the student. Like I said, I did what I needed to do to pass the class. Sean, 4.0 GPA, maintained that while he excelled in sports and all kind of different groups and clubs and all kind of things. Graduated, like I said, with a 4.0 GPA, and was really what they call an all-star athlete. And so we would, as a community of educators, pat ourselves on the back and say, hey, we did a great job. We graduated this young Black male. And when Sean went off to college, he started experiencing some things that he wasn't familiar with. He started experiencing confusion. He started hearing voices. He became real withdrawn, sullen, quiet. He would go periods, weeks without really eating anything or talking to anyone, which is very different for him. And so his family took him to get, for a psych visit. And they told him that before they took him for the psych visit, he had multiple failed suicide attempts on his life. And the last time that, and he talks about it, he put the gun to his head, pulled the trigger, and the gun jammed. And I think that was kind of where he realized that he needed to get some help there. And so they took him to get, for his psych visit. And they said that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And so looking back at kind of, again, what we said, okay, we graduated this young Black male, but what benefit does it take? What benefit is it if when this young Black male goes off to college, when they leave your school building and they take their own life? Yeah. Right. And so when we talk about, oh, well, that's the parent's job, or we're not going to talk about SEL here, or we're not going to deal with their social stuff, we're just here to teach them. No, it's holistic. It's a whole process in itself. And so we have to make sure that as we're educating these young people, as we're preparing them for life, we're really preparing them for life, not to be able to regurgitate information.
Yeah. Yeah. We're talking about the emotional quotient, folks, and EQ versus IQ. They're both important, but we're talking the emotional quotient side of young people this morning. Talk to us about the relationship, Tiarica, between, as you referenced, turning points and EQ.
So the turning point, like I said, a lot of times when students have great academic gains or losses, is typically for something social or emotional in nature. There was a program in my anthology project where I work with students to write and publish their own book, was created based out of one of these turning points that I experienced. So I was in a youth detention center in Florida, and I was doing a presentation, and I was just sharing my story. I was telling my story, and the girls were inspired. They were on fire. They came up to me after the presentation. And again, all of these girls are incarcerated. They came up to me after the presentation. Oh, can you help me tell my story? I want to tell my story. But one girl kind of stayed to the back, right? And so as she left, as the group left, she asked if she could stay behind with me. And I said, sure, that's fine. So she said, Miss, I really want you to help me tell my story. But I don't know how to read or write. I don't even know how to spell simple words like and, the, but I'll get a tutor. I'll learn. And this girl had to be maybe around 14 years old.
Mm.
So up until this point, nothing had gotten her attention enough, had inspired her enough for her to decide that she was going to take action. She said she wanted a tutor. She said she wanted that help in that moment because she wanted to tell her story. And I said, you know what? What's more relevant to a child, to a person, than their own story? And so that's when I created the anthology project, where we work with students to write and publish their own books. So to date, we've published close to 1,600 student authors, right? And utilizing that as a vehicle, again, to show them literacy skills, language, grammar, reading, writing, problem solving, communication. It's so many different things that are crammed into that piece, but that's that holistic piece of that development and education, right? But all of it started because of that one turning point where that girl said something that was shared with me today touched me personally, emotionally, and now I want to share my story and I want to learn.
That's incredible. But it's not shocking. I have these books sitting here because I forgot to put them away for the season, so that's a good thing. These are 4 student written books that I published as a classroom teacher. This is it's all students, but notice the years. This is 1996, 1994, 1995, 1996. These are a long time ago. So the 1990s. But when I post these during Kwanzaa every year, those students come out of the woodwork and they show up on my Facebook page. And they're saying, and they either say I still got the book and I'm honored that I got it. They post the covers, or they'll say, how can I get a copy of that book? I remember, they in their 40s now, but it's still resonating with them to this day.
I'll get a copy of the books. I got to figure out how I get my hands on those books.
Yeah. It was something I was just so committed to, because I'm a writer and a speaker. I made writing for the students as a classroom teacher a priority. You had to publish a book, not just write an essay about something, but publish a book. But then speaking, since I'm a speaker, you had to have multiple opportunities to hold that microphone and speak to your class, speak to the school, whatever the case may be, because I knew the power in having oratorical skill, having public speaking skill. It can take you places that you've never imagined. So that resonates with me in terms of the writing that you're doing with all these young people. Let's go to that second, to another one of the 7 secrets, which you call stop spreading emotional dysfunction. And for that one, I highlighted something that I wanted to share. Y'all bear with me. I wanted y'all to hear this from, again, the book, the seven secrets to social emotional learning by Tiarica. Barry, let's get that right. There we go. So you can go to Amazon right now and get a copy. Let me read this to y'all. Before you enter this chapter, I want you to close your eyes for 15 to 30 seconds and think about the word emotions. She asked, what comes to mind when you think about that word emotions? And then she went on to say, when I do this activity with educators in professional learning settings, the responses are always pretty similar. I have heard some of the following responses: drama, too emotional, crying. I think of my female students. Hormones. They are bad or negative. If this is what people are thinking about emotions, then there's no wonder why most educators try to stay as far away from that emotional junk, in quotes, as they can. There's a plethora of evidence-based data to support the holistic benefit of improving emotional intelligence and emotional literacy. When we stop treating emotions like the plague, we'll truly unlock the potential of our students, our schools, and the community. That's a powerful statement. And I wanted to ask you the question. I got a couple for you here. What do you mean by stop spreading emotional dysfunction? What does that mean?
I think it can come so natural to us, you know, things that we've heard our parents say, things that we just commonly say. And sometimes it may even feel like we're being supportive. But, you know, when we say don't cry, for example, it's teaching our young people that it's not okay to cry, that crying might be a sign of weakness. You know, oh, don't cry, toughen up, come on, you stronger than that. Well, so then that means that if I cry, that I'm not strong, because ultimately that's what it is. That's the belief that that drives that, right? And so now I feel like I can't cry. And so when I have a situation happening, or I feel very emotional about something or sad about something, I'm not gonna cry. No.
Yeah.
I hear people say it all the time. All the time. It's so interesting to me. So when people say, they'll start talking, their voice will start shaking, and they'll say, I'm not gonna cry. And my response is always the same. If you want to cry, it's okay.
Yeah.
Crying, tears are cleansing, right? And so I'm trying to help reprogram those beliefs around, you know, this kind of these concepts and beliefs and ideas that we're spreading, you know, sometimes consciously and sometimes unconsciously.
And you know, as a man, because you know, particularly a male, you know, we're really told not to cry. You know, that would be a sign of weakness, and we may be stigmatized by the people that are aware of it for a very long time. I'm glad that I somewhere along the way evolved out of that. You know, I don't cry often, but there are things. Sometimes it's just music. You know, some people, I know my wife's up there listening right now, and you know, Luther can make me cry. When I say Luther, for those that don't know, I mean Luther Vandross, right? To this day, Luther can make me cry on songs that I've heard for the past 30, 40 years, right? But I'm good with that. You know, I'm good with that. I know who I am. I know what I am, right? So you went on and you indicated that with emotional dysfunction, it's important to understand the following two core concepts. You can't control emotions, and you can't quantify emotions. Elaborate on what you mean by that.
When I say you can't control your emotions, sometimes people try to
Oh,
say,
Tiarica, hang on a second, because I gotta just real quick, my man here. This my man. We go back to high school days, and then he was actually his first administrative role was he was an AP under me, his first AP role. But this my boy. We go back to teenage years. So he on here. Your students made you cry. Yeah, I forgot about that. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
nothing wrong with that. That's great that they can make you cry. So the question was about controlling emotions.
Yeah.
So the ability to control your emotions. I always look at I believe that emotions are to be managed, not controlled, right? If I'm angry for a reason, and I have to explore why I'm feeling angry. What was the trigger? What triggered me to feel angry? And then if I'm angry, how was I violated? And how do I put up boundaries to protect me against that violation that I had? If somebody violates me and I'm telling myself, I need to control my emotions, I need to not be angry. No, you have all right to be angry, right? But your emotions do not excuse your actions. So you're still responsible for the actions that you have on the other side of that. So we need to figure out, how do we manage emotions? So whatever triggers are coming up, how do we manage those triggers? And then on the backside of that, then how do we because we can't control our actions, how do we control the actions that result from that emotion that we're having? So I always say it's to be managed. Emotions are to be managed, not controlled.
Yeah, to be managed. And then there's one more piece I wanted to share with the folks, because it's just a lot of good stuff in here. This is short. You said you can't quantify emotions. You said, and then there's a quote here. Oh my God, Tierica, you're so emotional. End quote. Was something I heard so often growing up that I began to think it was a negative trait or a weakness. I believe I needed to toughen up, and that's what I did. I did everything in my power to detach from my emotional side. Anytime I felt the urge to cry, I would fight the urge and suppress my feelings. I would avoid getting too excited, too sad, or too emotional about anything. This is how I began my habit of emotional suppression. So I want to ask you, what is emotional suppression and why is it dangerous both physically and mentally?
So emotional suppression is basically, simply put, it's the act of suppressing the emotions that you have coming up out of fear, or to manage whatever external is happening externally, right? And so you suppress that emotion. So you might feel upset, angry, violated, whatever it is, but you suppress that into your emotional suitcase, which we talk about. And when you suppress those things, that shows up as stress in your body. And from a physical sense, emotional suppression is so serious that it can manifest as cancer in your body. It can manifest as sickness, illness, disease in your body, because you're harboring all of this inside of you, and it's energy, right? And we know that energy is not what does it say, neither created nor destroyed. When you bottle that inside of you, your cells are reacting to that. So I had to tell myself, oh, no. I'm not carrying this. I would say, this is not mine to carry. And so if somebody hurt my feelings, I would go to that person and I'd let them know, you hurt my feelings. That really hurt my feelings. Now that person may or may not receive it or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's not mine to carry. So I'm going to get this off of me, right? I'm not suppressing anymore. And I started to feel more clear. Because before I started to feel numb. I was so numb. I couldn't even cry when I wanted to. I would literally sit there and be like, I'm supposed to be crying right now. This is a moment to cry. And I wanted to cry. Right. But I had switched everything off because I had heard so many times that I was too emotional. Right. So I said, you know what? I'm going to make sure that I spend my time around people that honor that side of me, that recognize the importance. And then I'm going to advocate for people like me and let them know that you being emotional is not a problem. It's actually your superpower. Your ability to feel the entire array of emotions is a superpower. Everybody cannot do that. Yeah. And so me feeling that way gives me a lot of space as a healer, as an educator, as a nurturer, right? And ultimately that's why people are drawn to me when it comes to the type of work that I do, because I can feel a wide array of emotions, and not when you share something with me, I say, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah. In last part, matter of fact, let me tell the folks, I got one more question, y'all. Then we're going to talk about her Tiarica's gala. And then we go to the BAM impact question. So hang in there with me. Hit the share button, hit the retweet button. Let them know we are still here talking about social emotional learning. Let's explore processing emotional trauma. And you talk about young people, the necessity of them having multiple outlets to process and cope with emotional trauma in a healthy way. And then you've spoken about the emotional suitcase. You consequently created an activity guide. toward unpacking the emotional suitcase. So my question is, three quick ones. What is an emotional suitcase? And there's the book. Hold that up close and say, yeah. So when you go to Amazon, keep it up there for me for a minute, Tierica. When you go to Amazon, folks, you'll see unpacking emotional suitcase. Get that one too, right? So you go to Amazon and you get both books, right? What do you mean by emotional suitcase?
So simply put, an emotional suitcase is a metaphor that's used to describe the place individuals store painful, embarrassing, or traumatic experiences. And that's typically because they don't know how to or do not wish to process those experiences. And so, like I said, we shove things into that emotional suitcase, especially people that are in a habit of emotional suppression. They shove things into that emotional suitcase, and then they are it usually comes up or pops open or explodes when we don't want it to happen, or we feel the emotional suitcase begins to control us, as opposed to us being able to own and control our own stories and our own narratives for our lives. So yes, that would be that's the emotional suitcase, basically.
Yeah, and you touched on my part B, so I'm gonna go right to C. You talk about an emotional processing system. What is that? Please elaborate on it.
Sure. So there's a diagram when you get into the book. There's a diagram that shows that emotional processing system. And I liken it to the digestive system. So if your digestive system is working properly, you'll eat something, your body store what it needs, and it'll get rid of what it doesn't, right? Same thing with your emotional processing system. Having an experience is the same thing, is similar to you eating something. If you don't know how to process what you just experienced, you'll shove it all, you'll store it all, right? You'll shove it inside an emotional suitcase. And just like if that were to happen with your digestive system, you would become constipated, right?
Yeah.
And that's where that emotional constipation comes from, and we talk about the illness and the disease and cancers and all those different things that we harbor inside of our bodies. But that emotional processing system, what we want to do is show how do we process these experiences that we have so that we're not carrying around the heavy, burning emotions that are associated with these experiences, but we turn them around as where we own our stories. So that's why two people that may have the identical or seemingly identical experience of trauma, one can be, light years ahead in their processing or in how they're showing up with that experience versus the other, because one knows how to process it and they've processed it as a victor or someone who can utilize. Like for me, I utilize my experiences to help empower others, to create lessons, to pull lessons so that others can follow in that path of empowerment, right? Whereas somebody else may say, oh my gosh, that happened to me and I am, some kind of way they will internalize that, right? And they just, in that process of counseling and therapy, that's how we kind of break that down and say, hey, what kind of things are you carrying that are not yours to carry? And how do we take those out of your emotional suitcase so we can help lighten your load? And so that's what the emotional processing system is about, is isolating those pieces so we can get down to what the problem is and get that out of there.
Love the metaphor. That's powerful. Someone just tuned in late, and we put it up here again. This is one of the books, 7 Secrets of Social Emotional Learning by Tiarica Berry. Throw that other book up there, Tiarica. Unpacking the Emotional Suitcase, Tiarica Berry. You can get all of that on Amazon.com. I just want to read this to the audience, and I got your website up there, folks. Get that down, womanstandard.com. I just want to read this, and then I'm going to ask you to elaborate as far as where we are now with your work. You have a Women's History in the Making Awards Gala coming up next Saturday, March 18th. WHIM, Women's History in the Making. History is a formal event designed to recognize and celebrate girls, organizations, and community leaders contributing to the development and empowerment of this generation of young women. From your website, a Woman's Standard, which you all see the website address, your nonprofit youth development organization utilizes social emotional learning to help young ladies break through barriers for academic, emotional, and behavioral success. Since 2011, your team has been delivering programs to adolescent girls in traditional and alternative education settings, and our curriculum and programs are being implemented in multiple states across the country. So you're doing a lot with the young ladies, and then it culminates with this gala. So talk to us about the gala, and if folks are not in the Atlanta area, how they can still contribute to what it is that you're doing.
Absolutely. So the gala, of course, with March being Women's History Month, we wanted to make sure as a woman's standard that we were celebrating Women's History Month in a really big way. So we created this gala as a formal event, and we want to make sure that we create something of beauty, elegance, and just really go all out for the girls, because I found that a lot of, if you didn't quite fit into like the all-star athlete or the straight A honor roll, president's list valedictorian, then a lot of times it was, you might run a risk of slipping through the cracks, and I didn't see a space where students were being celebrated for resilience, being celebrated for their creativity, for entrepreneurship, right? I believe one of my quotes is, creativity is one of the clearest windows to the soul. So if we know that to be the case, then if I truly believe that, then why would I not create a space to celebrate that? And so that's when we created the WIM Awards, and we are in our 6th annual. I thought that was a typo when I was looking. I was like, oh my gosh, it's really been 6 years. So we're in our 6th annual Women's History in the Making Awards Gala. And if you are in the Metro Atlanta area, or even a little bit outside, Columbus, Augusta, y'all please come out. I guarantee you will enjoy yourself. It'll be an amazing event. And then if you are not and you still would like to support, one of the things that's important to me is I don't want any young lady to feel like they can't attend because they can't afford to get a ticket or a dress or whatever. So we always like to have people sponsor. We've had several people sponsor tables for groups of girls to come and attend from local high schools. And so if you would like to sponsor a table or a ticket for a young lady, then you can also do that. That information is on our website as well.
And I'll take care of my end today.
Thank you.
Yeah, most definitely. Tiarica, let's go to our BAM impact questions real quick. As you know, this is one word answer, one sentence max, right? Anything, as I tell my guests, anything over a sentence, I'm gonna cut you off, right? So here we go. 20 questions. Is education on the right path for underserved children in America?
I don't think so.
Are you optimistic about, is Tiarica Berry optimistic about the educational prospects for the masses of Black and brown students in America today?
For the prospects, yes.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black and brown and other underserved children today?
I don't believe so.
Does Tiarica Berry's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
Absolutely.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
Exactly the same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because it is my purpose and my reason for being here on this planet. And I know that without a shadow of a doubt.
What fires you up within the work that you do?
Seeing the results and outcomes in my students that I serve.
What do you love most about the work you do?
Seeing the results and outcomes in the students that I serve.
What do you dislike about the work you do?
The barriers that the unnecessary barriers that are put up to me being able to access and give the work, address the needs of the students.
Yeah. What has been your greatest victory in this work thus far?
I think I would have to say my developing myself to be kind of a beacon of light for those that follow.
What was your greatest mistake in this work thus far?
And
if you don't have one, don't worry about it.
Yeah, I always look at them as learning lessons. I'm an optimist, so I always turn it into something like, oh, I can learn from this. So I can't really say.
There you go. What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
Balance and try not to solve every single problem that I see.
Who inspires you in this work?
That list is too long to name.
Yeah.
You, Dr. Chikakua, Coach Alfred Powell, the students are the biggest ones. They inspire me to keep going.
Well, we all appreciate you. What might you be reading now? Book, blog, article, anything?
I am reading, actually, it's right here, The Spirit of Intimacy.
Good stuff. So therefore, the follow-up is, what would you recommend? What book would you recommend for our viewers this afternoon?
The book I would recommend, this one. Push Out by Monique Morrison. It's the criminalization of Black girls in schools. Have you read this?
I know of it. It's I need to. She got some other stuff out too. Powerful. Yeah. In fact, I think she wrote a book for ASCD recently. I'll be on it. Where we at? What do you want to accomplish that you haven't accomplished yet?
I would like to, I'm in the works of creating just a centralized hub for resources where, I don't know all the answers. I can't solve all the problems. And I would like for the resources of like-minded people and organizations to come together to serve our youth.
Are you satisfied with where you are now professionally?
No.
What could you say to a viewer out there who continues to face closed doors?
Keep knocking at the door. And if the door never opens, then climb through the window.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Surround yourself, or I would say take inventory of who you're surrounding yourself with.
And if Tiarica Berry was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Emotional.
Emotional. Wow. Good one. Good one. I appreciate you, Tiarica. Hey, folks out there, you know what we do. Let us know if you enjoyed what you listened to today. Give Tiarica some applause by way of your emojis, applause, praise, hearts, diamonds, gems, bombs, fire, whatever it is that you use, your favorite ones. I see them, they're coming. Some of y'all started early, and I appreciate that. That's the ones that have been rocking for a while, so you already know. I see it, all the platforms. We on YouTube, 2 Facebook pages, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So let us know on whatever platform you're on. Let us know. I see it. And let me get my bat out, man. I can't forget my bat. That's my emoji. 150. There it is. in the books. 150. And on 150, you hit a grand slam. In fact, you hit 4 grand slams. So 16 runs scored as a result of your effort today, man. You brought some information for us. I'm sure that a whole lot of people out there who watch live and those who watch the video, because that's where most of the views come from, the people that watch the video later when they have time. A lot of people are going to benefit from your words this morning and afternoon. So I appreciate you immensely for blessing us with number 150. That's a milestone, 150. The next milestone is 175 and then 200. So thank you. Do me a favor. Stand by, Tiarica, even when I go sign off so we can talk off camera. Let me just do my rundown to close us out. Hey, folks, like I always say, thanks for being here. Join me next week for 151. I got this principal out in Brooklyn, New York City. Her name is Dr. Indira Mota, M-O-T-A, Mota. She's one of my Twitter friends, and she does some dynamite stuff out there in Brooklyn. We've never met, to my knowledge, but just reading her tweets, I said, I called her, I reached out, I should say, and said, I need you on the platform. She said, let's go. And she's looking forward because she got me her information in a week in advance, man. So Dr. Indira Mota, Brooklyn principal, next week as we continue with Women's History Month. Facebook Live every Saturday morning. Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, 10:30. Unlock the Middle with Josh Tovar, Principal Josh Tovar and Principal Dean Packard on Sunday nights at 7 o'clock. And then Village Leadership Group with Dr. Roz Gaskins and Coach Williams, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 6. Make sure that you go to principalkafele.com and pre-order my new joint, the Assistant Principal Identity, subtitled Protecting Your Leadership Mindset, Fervor, and Authenticity. Go to principalkafele.com. It'll link you to Amazon or it'll link you to ASCD. So you can go to either place. You can bypass the website actually, but I just want you on that website. You can check out some of the other things that are on there. So make sure you do that. And as a matter of fact, let me pause. Let me go back to Tierica. How do they reach you to book you to come to their schools, Tierica? We didn't ask that question. We talked about the gala.
Yes. So on the website, there's a form that you can complete to have someone follow up with you, or you can reach me directly. My email address is admin@awomanstandard.com. So it's just admin in front of that website right there.
There you
And
go.
yep, and that's how you can book me. And then we also have a virtual course on the website as well that you can, it's a self-paced virtual course that you can move through on your own. That's titled 7 Secrets to Social Emotional Learning, and it is based on this book, 7 Secrets.
There you go. So don't forget it. Just reach out, go to the website, put info, no, admin, I think you said admin@awomanstandard.com, and bring it to your school. You got it for a full day, right? Or long-term contract, got it for a full year, right? Whatever it is. So subscribe to the Virtual AP Leadership Academy YouTube channel. Hit that red button. Then you can watch all of them. Make sure that you get the 2 books that coincide with the Academy, the Assistant Principal 50, the Aspiring Principal 50. Those are my 2 that coincide with this, along with the new one, the Assistant Principal Identity, which I'll be talking about that content starting in May when I go back to doing solos on the first Saturday of the month. And then where we at? Like and follow the Facebook page, Virtual AP Leadership Academy. I'll have a commentary up tomorrow morning before 10 o'clock. So make sure you get that. That'll be number 99. And then finally, your diet, your exercise, your COVID precautions. Make sure you're taking care of yourselves. So again, folks, I appreciate you being here. 150. Join me next Saturday for 151. I'll see you then. Have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. That fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bang! I'll see y'all Saturday, man. You make sure you have a great week and stay safe. Stay there.